Holy shit, Kevin!
Wow. What?
You get this only nowhere else but you. Kevin is after that. Kevin, I'm not going to lie.
Now we're not going to a carved penguin. There it is.
Oh, no. Are the O's fine? Are the Orioles fine, Kevin?
I was so embarrassed.
Okay.
The Orioles stole it. That game was stolen. It was stolen from them, then they stole it right back.
What?
Oh, my God.
Wait, what's going on? What is happening?
What is going on? Was it a diving play? He bobbled the ball.
What is happening? Are they challenging it? No. Other wall. No.
Kevin, I don't know what you saw, how much you saw. I've been chugging champagne. Sure, I spilled a lot, but what a game, man.
He will be the legendary
Bird Fish!
How about that?
Bird Fish fans, stand up. We did it.
What can I say? What can I say?
What can I say? The Baltimore Orioles have a new manager. Wow. It's not a guy that we had seen on the radar. It's not a guy who had been listed to the Orioles, who had been getting any public links to the Orioles. Craig Albernaz, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, is coming to Baltimore. As reported by pretty much everyone at this point. But let's get this. The Baltimore Orioles are finalizing a deal to hire Craig Albernaz as manager, sources tell ESPN. Albernaz, 42 years old, so a younger manager, was previously associate manager with Cleveland under Stephen Vogt, and was widely sought after candidate for open managerial jobs. So they're saying he was connected, he was widely sought after. Hey, we do know one thing, though. The Orioles went young. We had talked about this a few times, especially kind of once the season was over and the sole focus was on the manager job, is what were the Orioles going to do and what kind of path were they going to take? Were they going to take a young, fiery guy, an up-and-coming guy, and try to get that next guy that's going to be here, 10 years, win a bunch of World Series, and kind of go that path? Or were they going to go for a veteran, a guy who has been there, done that, has had managerial jobs, maybe the Bob Melvins, the Bruce Bochy's, those kind of guys are the names that people want to throw out there. Obviously, for the young up-and-coming guys, it was, okay, Ryan Flaherty, Albert Pujols, those type of names. Well, it's neither. It's also, I guess, technically they could have kept Tony Manzolino, which I know a lot of people, people are going to be really, I know people are going to talk about oh, who is this guy, all that. Everyone was going to be so upset if it was Tony Manzolino. Everyone in the comments, if they would have just announced Tony Manzolino was the guy, I think people would be upset. So it's a new voice. It is what I talked about. I've said from the beginning, the one thing I wanted for this Baltimore Orioles team was a new voice. I thought Tony Manzolino did an excellent job for the hand he was dealt. He was dealt a team that was just hovering at that point, 14, 15, 16 games below 500. They pretty much had no hope. There was no momentum, and he had to take them for the rest of the year and try to make something of it. Well, he led them to above 500 in his tenure, but ends up not getting the interim tag removed. Tony Manzolino will not be your manager. And for all of you who that matters to, I do not have confirmation whether or not Albernaz calls them runs or points, but I would assume it's probably runs. But let's I've been trying to look a little bit more into Albernaz as we go. Just checking everything. So moments before, John Heyman, I guess, wrote before. Yeah, okay, so thanks. MLB Trade Rumors just had a story that was literally like 2 seconds long, but that's okay. This was a guy who had been connected to other teams. I'm seeing Washington. Who's this? Minnesota, interested in him. So this guy had interest. I will say he's coming from the likes of the Tampa Bay organization. He spent time there, spent time in San Francisco, and then under Stephen Vogt. You know, this is clearly a guy who has been with good organizations. I know people really admire kind of what Tampa does, what San Francisco does, even if the results haven't been there for a while. With San Francisco, you had the one good year, in 21, but besides that, pretty disappointing. Texting Ryan to see. Seeing if Ryan Ripken's going to join this, so might send him the link. They're always catchers, Karen. I've been saying this. They're always catchers. They're always catchers. And, you know, I feel like this is the main question everyone's asking, you know, are we happy about this? I think we're going to find out. And I believe it's Craig Albernaz is how you pronounce it. Albernaz. So, is this confirmed? Do we have a thick Boston accent? I think I could get behind a thick Boston accent, like a rough and tough guy. But kind of going through X right now to kind of see what the reaction is from people, if we have anything more from this. Yeah, so I'm seeing people who cover the Guardian saying that it looked like Albernaz was not going to be able to stay in Cleveland this year with so many managerial openings. They said that he had, I guess, some potential opportunities last year, but they weren't as enticing as this year. So it looks like maybe he. Oh, so we're getting a good hire. Appreciate that. Yeah. So far, I like the guy's resume. I think he's been with good organizations. And, you know, I know we're going to sit here and we're going to deep dive and we are going to hyper analyze this manager and this decision. At the end of the day, and I talked about this, whether or not they were going to sign a veteran to be their manager, whether or not they were going to keep Manzo. No matter what happens, they need to continue to make the team better. The roster is still going to be the most important aspect of this all. So, yes, this is a spot. The Orioles now have a manager. They now have a manager, but that does not mean that suddenly the offseason is complete. This is still a very important offseason to capitalize on. I would assume we will find out an intro press conference in the next few days. So, I mean, initial thoughts. I know. Listen, we're not all going to, be able. I mean, knowing managers, especially Major League Baseball, it's hard to dive into everything from a guy's coaching career and all that. But what so far, 42-year-old coming from, so a young up and coming coach coming from the Cleveland Guardians organization. He was also the bullpen coach in San Fran. Spent some time in Tampa Bay. Give us 1 through 10. Where is your excitement level? Where, 0 being you hate the hire, worst thing of all time. 10 being World Series back on. I'm probably going to sit in the, 8 range. I'm going to, temper my excitement. But I feel like, I'm glad that they got a new voice in there, because my biggest concern was that they were going to just run it back. So just this simply being a new voice, this simply, and yeah, come from Tampa. We all talk about Cleveland. He also had time in Tampa. Cleveland's inevitable. We've seen that with the small ball, just finding a way, making things happen. So when you consider that with just the simple fact of, I think they needed a new voice, I've said it a million times already on this stream, but it's true. They needed a different, even if the message is slightly the same, they needed a different voice. They needed something different, someone to try to get the guys going again. I think Manzolino did a good job. I'm very intrigued, and I think everyone else is. I'm intrigued to see what the staff looks like. Yeah, the manager is obviously, he's the number one. He's the quote-unquote guy making the calls, even though if you ask any Oriole fan, it's usually, I think, a lot of front office decisions go into lineups and everything. But I'm most intrigued about the staff. I would love a singular one hitting coach. I would love one hitting coach. I think a singular hitting coach would be a good start. But I'm really intrigued to see, the guys he pulls. I would love Mabry to stay. I'm kind of worried he's going to go to Texas to go with Skip Schumacher. Again, I would hate to lose him. I will see what happens with Tony Manzolino. I know Tony had said prior that he'd be open to stay in any capacity. You say that before they give someone else your job. I don't know if that's, really something that he would stay for. I would love to have him be in the dugout still, but I don't see that as really a possibility. Would love to see a veteran now bench coach. I would love to get a guy who has kind of been there, maybe an older, more experienced former manager, kind of like how the Blue Jays have Don Mattingly. I would like a vet guy who's been there. Hell, if there are guys like a Bob Melvin or something, if they don't get a chance right out and they just want to accept a bench coach for a year. I think Chirinos did a really good job. I just think with them going to a younger up-and-comer, I want a guy who's kind of been a manager, sort of like when Hyde got there and, during his years, like when they had Freddie Gonzalez, once they brought Freddie in because they wanted him to kind of help Hyde out, be that veteran, that guy to bounce ideas off of. So I think I would like to see a veteran guy. And I know this is a big thing. I do not think the Orioles are going to sign a GM this year. There's no Mike Elias is running everything. Even if they hired a GM, it's still Mike Elias running everything. That doesn't change. So for me, I've said it a million times. I still 1000% believe that the Orioles were never going to tell us that Mike Elias got promoted and they were just going to wait till they hired a GM. And then you'll notice that the White Sox someone in their scouting department, assistant GM. He put out a statement saying he wasn't interested. He wasn't going to take the Orioles GM job. 2 hours after the Orioles announced that Mike Elias was taking over as president of baseball operations and they were searching for a GM. I just think that they flat out, they were like, shit, this guy's about to announce that he's not taking the job, and we haven't told anyone we're interviewing for the job. So I guess let's get ahead of that. I think that's the only reason they told us. They're not rushing to find a GM. They're not. It's still all Mike Elias. Hey, trade. I've been saying trade for Freddie Peralta. I actually don't think it would even really take this much. I think it would. I would be intrigued what a package for a Freddie Peralta would look like, because I mean, personally, I've said it many times. If you've been listening on the Ryan Ripken show, which if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. I've been saying, I think Freddie Peralta, we've done these type of deals with the Brewers before for a Corbin Burns. So I wouldn't be surprised if in a very, 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 very similar situation with Freddie Peralta, if the Orioles couldn't make a very similar offer, it would be, I think it would fill out the rotation. You have Trevor Rogers, you have Kyle Bradish, you have Freddie Peralta. That's a 1-2-3 that can go up against anyone in baseball. He's got a Twitter. This is kind of how I'm judging at this point. Trying to get where's like a Cleveland page. This is where we're at this point. I'm trying to see. Oh, so Cleveland fans aren't happy that he's leaving. So that's good. That's pretty good. Usually when they're not happy he's leaving. I mean, that pretty hype. So yeah, if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. You missed out. Craig Albernaz is going to be the new manager for the Baltimore Orioles. I'm going to be honest with everyone. I'm going to be very honest with everyone. I did when we we're talking about, came in today. We were talking about the Ravens need a big day. The Ravens go out, get a win. It's like, awesome. What a big day. I didn't think we were going to be talking about Orioles hire. Can they hire people at a normal time? Like, I feel like in the offseason, the Orioles do not make moves until at least 10 p.m. I mean, if you've been following Kevin and Zach React for the offseason, you know that last year it was like a streak of 3 straight Fridays where we had to go live at midnight. Trying to find as much as I can on him so I can inform anyone. Let's see what they're saying. Yeah, so every website I've gone has said he was one of the bigger names available for the managerial cycle. Helped guide the Cleveland Guardians back-to-back postseason appearances. I'm really intrigued to see what this staff is going to look like. Yeah, they do. They try to catch us sleeping the entire time. I don't know what it is. I don't know what we did to deserve this, but they just yeah. So really a name that looks like was gaining a lot of buzz at the end. Yeah, not a lot. Not a lot out on him at the moment, but we're going to continue to break this down. Tomorrow, we'll have the Ryan Ripken Show over on the Ryan Ripken Show Network. Go like and subscribe over there. So we'll be live tomorrow around 4-ish. We're going to talk, obviously, more about this. Ryan will give his thoughts and everything. And I feel like this is a big this was a big selling point for a lot of people on why Manzolino shouldn't be back. This is why I keep saying this is my biggest, not concern, but, it's something that I'm most intrigued with is they've got to fill this staff out right. I want one hitting coach. I want one pitching coach, stuff like that. And just get guys in here, like you said, get the boys' head straight. I feel like last year, especially hitting, when there's 3 hitting coaches, like there's just too many cooks in the kitchen at that point. It just at that point you can only have so many guys, and I would love Buck to I don't see Buck returning to Baltimore as a bench coach, but behind the scenes we have a wild Kevin Oestreicher. Kevin, they can never just like do it at a normal time.
They love their late at night news dumps. You can, if there's one thing that you can count on the Orioles for, they're gonna break some news
at the worst
midnight.
time possible.
Or I guess it is 10 p.m.
Yep,
This one
literally. But Kevin, the Orioles, a guy that not a lot of people was not connected, at least publicly. At least not. Oh, he's been interviewed, stuff like that. But the Orioles seem to have. Not seem to. The Orioles have their guy, and so now here we go. I keep on saying it. I'm just intrigued. Like, I'm just intrigued to see what the staff's going to look like. They clearly wanted to go the younger, it looks like more analytical approach, which we kind of assumed. I didn't think Mike Glass was going to get a full on, pure, old school baseball guy. That didn't seem like it, but every article I've pulled up and read talks about how he kind of, was a top guy and, a top candidate for a lot of positions, had opportunities last year, but didn't really want to take them. So it seems like people are high on him, but, we're going to find out pretty quickly what, the staff looks like and all that, because that's almost more intriguing to me than, yes, obviously the manager's the top guy. But, I keep saying it, Kevin. I think I've said it like 5 or 6 times. I would like one hitting coach, like, little things like that, and start from there. But overall, how's it going?
Well, it's been a day.
Yeah,
it's been a day. I think my computer just froze for some reason. I don't know what the heck's going on, but it's something where for the Orioles, I'm just curious, and we'll never know the answer to this question. At least I doubt we will. But how much of this is going to be the manager, and how much of this is going to be Michael Elias and the GM? Like, what is the percentage of decisions being made from manager to GM to Michael Elias? What does that chain of command look like? Right? Yeah. It is, are the manager and the GM going to have, a lot of decision-making power here? I think we've established pretty quickly that whoever the GM that comes in, it's going to be Elias' show. So I just, because that was the question with Hyde, wasn't it? Yeah. It was how much of this is Brandon Hyde and how much of it is Mike Elias. So that to me is probably my number one question.
Yeah.
But again, it's kind of a name that I hadn't really heard of or thought about at all. So I know everybody's trying to do research on the fly to figure out a little bit. I mean, look, he I don't know if you went over this already, but he actually played as a catcher in the Rays organization.
Yep.
And we know the Orioles need some catcher depth. So, maybe he can suit up for a little bit if they need him to. They could have used an extra body or two. So, I mean, it's possible. You get some catcher depth in can double. You can be a player manager. He's only what, 42? He's only what,
43 this week. It's actually 43. He's it's like an early birthday present.
Yeah. So, but I agree with you. I think the staff is going to be really intriguing because I do want one or two veteran guys, like you said. I don't think you can just let him kind of go in blind to this thing. I do want to quickly give my final parting words to never have to hear the word points again. From unless Craig comes in there the first day and starts.
That's
saying
what
points.
I said that. I was like, I can't confirm, but I do feel pretty good towards he calls them runs. Like, I would put a lot of money on he probably does that.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, I guess the question that I would have, Zach, for you and I guess for everybody who's watching is, would there have been a guy that you would have felt better about?
I'll tell you one thing. There's a guy that I'm glad it wasn't, and that's Scott Survey. I just did not want, I felt like he was, yes, he didn't have the best teams in Seattle, but it just didn't fit. It just wasn't kind of the exciting hire. I know people are going to look at this as a young guy who maybe is more analytical, even though I like that he's a former player all the way up until most recently 2014. I think this is a guy that, maybe turns into something. Like, this is the hot up-and-comer. Like, in football, we talk all the time about, those coordinators that kind of get their shot and, they're waiting and they get their pick. This is a guy I saw up here, like, was very linked to best fit to be the Giants manager. Like, he's been linked to teams. He's been on guys' wish lists. Like, he was a guy that was sought after last offseason and decided to stay. So it's not like this is some bum off the street. This isn't like he has no managerial experience, he must suck. This is, look at it as like in the NFL, like a Mike McDonald or something, where it's like, hey, these are, a Sean McVay. Obviously those are very worked out well, at least so far with Mike. Examples, but you're going with the, new up-and-comer, and you're trying to see that. Stephen Vogt, he was a up-and-comer when Cleveland hired him, and all he's done is taken them to back-to-back playoff appearances and made them one of the peskiest teams in all of baseball. So I think, we've said it so many times, it all comes down to who is on this staff. That's really going to tell me. I want some veterans. I want some guys that are in there who have been there. I want a former manager there as the bench coach to kind of give him a guy to lean on. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I know that I see San Diego right now is celebrating because they all want Pujols there, and they all thought he was going to Baltimore, and I'm just like,
I don't think he was ever coming to Baltimore, but you know what?
I don't think so either. But yeah, I don't think there was anyone that I explicitly like that I thought was my favorite candidate.
The only guy that I was like, I thought was just Ryan Flaherty, but that's only because I tweeted out in 2021 that we needed to win a ring with Ryan Flaherty as manager for the vibes, and that would have been a cool quote tweet. Like, that would have been a cool, like called it if we did win it with it.
That would have been awesome. So, I mean, I assume that none of the guys are going to be back. From Chirinos, maybe. I could see Chirinos maybe coming back.
I just don't.
But
I would love Mabry's the guy. I would name Mabry the bench coach. I would name Mabry the bench coach. I would make him the bench coach. Hell, I would love to keep Buck Britton. I would not be surprised because Buck has kind of been Elias's like brainchild. You know, like they've raised him from the young single A manager all the way up. Like, I would not be surprised if it's like, hey, Buck Britton's on the staff. You know, I would not be surprised if he's third base coach, you know?
Yeah, I do know though, like in a lot of different sports, not just baseball, but across sports, you generally, at least, like young guys sometimes like to bring in their own staffs, and maybe that's part of the conversation. But Elias could also say, hey, we feel good about, whether it's Mabry or someone else, like we feel really good about X, Y, or Z. So it could go either way, honestly. Like it seriously could go either way.
Okay. Boom. Fuck yeah, Passan. Jeff Passan, hell yeah. Already got something out, and he's detailing why people love him. Okay.
Oh, very good.
So we're just up here. We'll just kind of go through the whole story a little bit. Baltimore Orioles are finalizing a deal with, I'm going to make this look more official. Baltimore Orioles are finalizing a deal with Craig Albernaz. We know that. Oh, yada. We fired the Brandon Hyde. We've all lived through it. We don't have to relive that. With a strong core of young hitters, thank you. The Orioles job is one of the most alluring. Thank you. You know,
is this the right?
Oh, okay. Well, it's because I hadn't.
I was like, I don't know what you're reading, but I can't read it with you.
Okay, hold on. Why is this? There
we
I don't know why it was sharing both. Thanks for calling that. Thanks for calling that out, because I would have read this entire thing. I'm just letting you know now. So yada, 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 leaned on for baseball. And Albernaz, who is in his previous coaching jobs, forged strong relationships with younger players and leaned on for baseball sense honed by years of behind the plate. Yeah, so Kevin, I called it. They're always former catchers. Every single time. They're always former catchers. But associate manager with the Guardians, who won American League Central this year. He had been a finalist he was a finalist for the job in 2023 and joined them as a bench coach. So maybe they do pick up Pujols for – that would be so funny if Pujols was the bench coach. This is just talking about his 9-year catching career. I do like that he's a catcher. I feel like all good managers
that catchers. Is underrated. That is pretty underrated.
In the Tampa system, all they do is win. Yeah. So, but here's kind of what, Albernaz's ability to connect with players was the hallmark of his time in San Francisco and Cleveland, and was part of the allure for an Orioles team filled with young talent. Baltimore has one of the highest ceiling rosters in the major leagues. Thank you. So, and then it's just kind of talking about that. So, at least from the jump, it seems like this is a guy that, Kevin, what have we kind of talked about that this team felt like it was missing, was that vocal leader, that guy that they feel like they could lean on. And I think that was kind of the big thing with Manzo, was it was like, hey, they relate to him. They relate to him. It seems like that's this guy's MO, is he gets the most out of these guys. He connects with players. And I feel like at times we felt like there was potentially a disconnect between manager, players, and coaching staff. So really hoping that that's something that we can, get the most out of. But so far it looks like he's just kind of that up and coming coach that, players love, has a great connection with guys, and you hope for the best there.
Yeah. And again, like for a guy like Adley, I think that's huge. Obviously the catcher experience, like that's something I do want to continue to hammer home, because, him being the players coach that everybody says he is and forging those relationships. I mean, it feels like this is hopefully going to be the perfect opportunity for him. And again, like the Orioles, because you mentioned like he didn't take jobs last year. The Orioles job, if they can get a couple pieces in here in the offseason and have a good offseason, this is a very attractive opening, or at least it was a very attractive opening. So,
Kevin, real fast, I'm sorry. I am getting confirmation he has a super thick Boston accent. I think that makes it better.
Get the cockies. You get the cockies.
Yeah, we getting the cockies.
Yeah, Duncan guy. Is he from Boston?
I don't
Oh, he's from Fall River, Massachusetts. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently when I looked it up, someone in the chat had said, so I looked up Craig Albernaz's accent on Twitter, and it was a bunch of people saying things they wish that he would say. So
It's like Kirchen. Oh man.
But this is also massive because I feel like we're going to get some incredible memes out of some quotes of his.
Yeah.
Khakis.
Khakis. Grab the khakis. Get in the car.
Grab the khakis. But Kevin, yeah, anything else really before we head out here? Just
I am playing Chris Boswell on fantasy against him, who has 43 points right now.
What is your rank? Oh, is that
you're in the league? By the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the one where I don't understand the kicking. As soon as you said that, and I said it, I was like, I don't get the kicking in that league.
Yeah, I was up by 30. I am now down by 30 because Chris Boswell has made up that entire lead by himself. I'm also playing Jordan Love.
So I'm at this unfortunate, or not unfortunate, at this awesome point. Actually, there's nothing unfortunate about this. I think I'm going to go 7-0 on my leagues this week.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I know, which is like crazy. But I'm set up to go 7-0.
Wow, that's nuts. It's the worst weeks are the ones in fantasy where you have like the second or third highest point total. Everyone else sucks, and then you play like the best team in the league that week.
Last week, me and my friend, I beat him. I scored like 163. He scored like 158, and the next highest score was 120.
Yeah, it's so brutal.
It's disgusting. Will we be back after? I saw someone just ask if we would be back after. Yeah, we'll do a quick. You want to do
the
quick
recap?
NFL
Yeah,
thing?
maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, we'll do a quick one after the game concludes, but especially with this, we'll get our recap in. But that's going to do it for our talk. Orioles hire a new manager. I was going to say find a new manager, but I guess he's hired. Like they're hiring him.
Yeah,
Craig Albernaz.
Because Knighton was it Knighton? No, it wasn't Nightingale. It was Heyman who like passed and tweeted out he was getting hired, and then Heyman like 5 minutes later tweeted out Albernaz is a strong candidate for the Orioles manager, and everyone's like, "What? He was hired."
Only him, dude. Only. But if you want to hear more about this, we'll be talking about more on the Ryan Ripken show tomorrow around 4:00. So tune in then. But that's going to do it for this edition of Kevin and Zach React. We'll be back probably in like an hour to talk for like 15, 20 minutes about football today. So tune into that if you're feeling frisky. But that's going to do it for this edition of Kevin and Zach React. I guess we have to say an Oriole.
I would say no manager. Say manager.
Oh, good call. Good call. Dave Tremblay.
Yeah. I would go. Should have been Orioles manager Bobby Valentine, but I'm gonna go with the one who was hired in Buck Showalter.
Wow. I'm not gonna lie. I thought you were gonna say Craig Albert.